Welcome everybody to ChefConf 2020. This is our first online edition, and just want to thank you all for joining us. This is coming live from the Hobbit House, where my wife Maureen and I live on Lake Union in Seattle, Washington, which is now part of the chef office empire out there in the world. And 6 months ago, if you had told me that we'd be living in a world where Nordstrom is selling face masks, Bloomberg is reporting on record unemployment in the United States, we have a worldwide pandemic with 5 million people sick, and that what we'd be turning to distract ourselves is this crazy show, The Tiger King, I absolutely could not have believed it. So let me start with the Mayo Clinic, who has some great self-care tips. I encourage you all to check it out. And I'm going to pull 4 of those that we can think about during ChefConf over the next day or so. So first of all, let's focus on things that we can control. And the thing I love about IT automation is it is something unequivocally we can control. The second one, we're living this, we're trying to create it. My favorite thing about ChefConf always was the social connection as much as the content that we were sharing. And we absolutely are going to use technology to try to maintain that and create that. I'm going to skip number 3 for a second and come back to that. And then the fourth one, listen to music. Over the years, we've had unbelievable music venues at ChefConf, and this year is no exception. I think we've actually have some of the most interesting acts ever. So really looking forward to that. And then let me come back to that third one, acknowledge and appreciate what others are doing to help you and your community. So I want to just call out some folks that are part of our community. I don't mean these as awards, just thank you for the tireless work you do day in, day out to help make our community, make our company, make our products what they are today. So first is Graham Weldon. Graham, if you don't know him, is a stalwart and relentless Habitat contributor. He's from Rakuten, Japan. Was with us really from the earliest days of the Habitat project. Thank you, Graham. Abdul Dost with MITRE. He's the Inspect champion at MITRE. And what I love Abdul's done is he's helped create math to prove that you can not only improve security with continuous compliance, but you can actually enormously improve the operating efficiency of the organization. And one of our big things that we believe in security is if you get it right, it is actually something that augments and assists velocity, doesn't block it, and Abdul's work has absolutely shown that. Dan Webb with Web Agile Systems. Dan is a key sous chef, and he has just been tireless on content. There's over 50 community cookbooks, some of the most important ones that Dan has updated, owned, kept running. Dan, thank you for that work. And Rob Mortimer with Barclays. Rob's a trainer at Barclays. I sometimes feel that training is so important, but also often gets treated as a second-class citizen. So he has just done a fantastic job really being a trainer / evangelist, if I'm really honest. And he's actually going to be talking at ChefConf. So Rob, thank you. And thank you all to the other hundreds and thousands of people that contribute and make all this possible. And then before I dive into the bulk of my content, I do want to put a flashlight on an amazing organization. I get asked by employees, customers, community members, hey, what can we do in this time of COVID to help out those that are not as fortunate for us? And so this is a group that we've got involved with. They have a variety of charities that they have vetted that are helping out people that have been highly impacted. And Chef is actually giving to 3 different charities as part of that. And the first one is related to helping first responders that have daycare needs that are being unmet right now. It's a great cause. Some of the many people are not fortunate like we are and can work in an environment like this and actually have to get out on the front lines and do the work with some of the toughest work going on right now. The second relates to hospitality and restaurant workers, industry that has just been devastated with the great shutdown. So help create financial support by those that are most impacted by this. And then lastly, artists. And artists have jobs, they make money, and many of them are struggling as bad as anybody right now. And if I think about ChefConf, we've had amazing artists here over the years, so I'm really glad that we can help out there. And I encourage you all, go check it out, allinseattle.org. Okay, so let's dive into IT, and I want to talk about trends and what we see going on. And pre-COVID, if you'd asked me, sort of what's the market drama that we're playing in, and I've talked about many of these things at ChefConf, but I'll just touch on it very quickly. What's been going on is enterprise organizations, they're trying to be digital high performers. We use the term decoded enterprise to describe digital high performers. So the mainstream enterprise, they're trying to be digital high performers in the same way the FANG companies are: Facebook, Apple, Amazon, Netflix, Google. And the reason is the financial returns and other benefits are so outsized if you can become a digital high performer. And the consequences are also very stark. And yet everyone wants to be a high performer, and it's hard. It's hard to be one. And there's a bunch of things getting in the way for most enterprises: legacy systems, tech debt, bunch of complexity. Security is now cited often as the #1 blocker to digital transformation: people, culture, systems of speed. And so the net of it is, even though everyone wants to get there, the majority are having a tough go at it. And now let's talk about what is the COVID world? What is the great shutdown? How has that impacted these efforts that are underway within our IT organizations? The first probably feels really obvious, but I do want to just really highlight that. And it goes without saying, I've heard many people describe it as we're seeing an acceleration of all things digital, and that is absolutely true. And I think that digital is now the foundation, not just of key industries, but of almost every industry and every business, as people try to imagine different ways to connect with customers, with partners, with their markets. So our digital infrastructure, it is critical infrastructure. And related to that is, and I would think of a discussion I was having with a close friend of mine who's also in the industry, and he was saying that, look, we've got to take security and treat security of applications, security of endpoint devices, security of IT infrastructure is just as important to our economy and to our world as, think of airport security. And I think there's some industries that have paid very close attention to this, but there's been many industries that have just blown this off. And I think that those days are absolutely gone. And it is important for all of us to think about security. And as I was kind of highlighting in the example with MITRE, is when you get it right, you actually, it's not just a cost, it actually improves operational efficiency and velocity in addition to having great security. And you're watching me here from the Hobbit house, so obviously we're in a time of remote everything. And I think there's a couple aspects of that are important. First of all, we have to create systems to allow work to occur anywhere. And many of us, and I know Chef was a company that had a very strong remote work culture anyways, but now it's how do we create systems to enable that. I also want to tie remote work to my previous point on security. And your laptop now, if you have a VPN or other connection into your corporate network, if you become vulnerable, your entire organization is vulnerable. So it's not just managing devices and enabling work, but making sure that we're doing that in a secure manner. And as I've talked to IT leaders, CIOs, CTOs, head of enterprise architecture, a very consistent theme has come out of these conversations. And that is, almost every IT organization, like the companies they are part of, they're dealing with crisis management. They're in a time of crisis right now. And as I talk to most IT leaders, they want to make sure that they're using this time of crisis as productively as possible. And so they want to go tackle all the hairy things that have been getting in the way of digital transformation. And they view that this is a time to accelerate, get those things out of the way, whether they're cultural, organizational, technical, whatever it is. And my advice to all IT workers is make sure that you're riding that train, not working against it. Now I want to talk about consolidation for a second. We for sure are exiting a era in IT. And for the past while, probably 5 years plus, we've been in the time of great experimentation. In fact, I think I've described it and used the term a Cambrian explosion of dev tools, of ops tools, platforms, and different groups inside large organizations have been experimenting with different things. And there's been such a premium on just, go accomplish your thing, that those individual teams are finding what works for them. But many organizations haven't found what is the standard that they want to run and what works for them across the entire organization. And the one thing we know is high performers, they don't do things 20 different ways or 5 different ways or 100 different ways. They find the way that works for them and drive that pattern relentlessly. And so we're seeing the end of that experimentation era and proliferation of tools to a consolidation of tools, where organizations, they're choosing standards, they're figuring out what works best for them, and then they're driving it relentlessly. And all the while, speed and velocity have been very key parts of IT for certainly the last 5 or 10 years. And I see not only is that not letting up, I see that that is actually increasing in this time of COVID. People want to more quickly get things out that are impacting their business in a positive way, that are impacting their customers in a positive way. And then the backdrop behind all of this is most organizations at a minimum are going through budget cuts. Many of them are going through layoffs also. And I just want to call out, because I think the work actually, certainly is not getting any easier. You're being asked more than ever to do more with less. And I just want to call out that the work that you're doing is not just important for the health of your organization, for the health of your coworkers, for your customers. It's actually, that work is what is propping up the US economy, the worldwide economy. It's doing things like allowing the work that needs to happen in healthcare industries to happen. So it is more important than ever, and just want to call that out and thank you all for the work that you do every single day. And if I leave you with a kind of a last idea in the trend section, it is simply this. There's a very stark difference between low performers and high performers. And we see this again and again. And I want to make sure that collectively we're doing everything we can to drive the outcome to help the organizations you work with become high performers. And the low performers, as you think about the jumble of systems and applications, both new and legacy, they push change many different ways. Sometimes it feels like as many different ways as there are applications or different systems. Whereas those high performers, even across a very complex compute environment, they are fantastic, and what they excel at is automating and driving secure change in a consistent manner. And they get great at it. As they get better, they're always tuning, they're always optimizing in the same way that an auto manufacturer is always optimizing how they run their manufacturing line. So I would encourage you to think about that. It's tied to this idea of we're seeing a consolidation of tooling and platforms, and it's something that I would really lean into. And as you think about working with your IT leadership, this is a really, really key concept that's important to understand. You want your organization to look like the right side of this frame, not the left side of this frame. Okay, let me give an update on Chef's business. So the first part of that, I just wanted to reshare. A lot of work went on in 2019. It was kind of a crazy time in our industry, in the software industry, and it led to a lot of introspection inside Chef and our community. And we wanted to redouble down on our very purpose for being here. And this has always been our purpose. And we're here to help you, the people that operate IT, to help make your lives better, to allow you to have more reach, more scale, and hopefully bring some delight to what you do through software automation. That's why the company was founded. That's why we're here today. And we also wrote down a set of principles to define how we want to work together as a company and as a community. And I'm not going to go through all of these, but there's one I really want to focus, because I think that we're paying this off very strongly, and hopefully we'll demonstrate that when we talk about the things that are going on in the product organization right now. And that is innovate to thrive. And I want to take a minute and read this. We continuously learn and innovate to create exceptional outcomes. We make space for creativity. Our best innovation is done in close collaboration with our community, with you all. And I would argue this, in fact, is happening, and it's happening better than it has ever happened in the history of Chef. And we're definitely in a time of strong innovation for the company right now. And we're really excited to share the work that we've been doing. And our ambition, where we're going as a company, is we want to be the definitive platform for IT operations. And there's 3 main stakeholders that we see in that. The first is definitely the place that we grew up, infra ops, right? That was our bread and butter. That's the world that Chef was founded in. The second area is SecOps, and I've touched on it a couple times. We think security is so important to becoming a high performer and doing things at scale and velocity. That idea of being in a state of continuous compliance is so important to that. So that's been the second major area of investment for us. And then the third is app ops. And this is the team and the people that are responsible for the life cycle of an application, keeping it updated, patched, performing, downstream dependencies, all of these things. It's complex, it's hard, and we want to be the platform across three areas. So that's what we're working on. And I think what will define the next generation of IT automation are companies that combine these three elements together. And look, we were founded, as I've said, it's always been about how to do things efficiently and consistently, even across very complex and heterogeneous environments. And we started, of course, with scale velocity. That's where the company was born. I remember talking to Adam and Chris Brown in the early days of Chef, and they talk about the product at the time was a series of primitives that you could essentially do anything with very quickly, very rapidly, and at scale. It did require a fair bit of knowledge to understand how the system worked and actually construct it for themselves. But the foundation was unbelievable. And over the years, we've added a couple legs to that stool. The second one, I've said it several times, security. We think that will be critical to all future IT automation platforms, and the ability to have it tightly integrated and work with the jobs of both infra and app automation are critical. And the third thing, and I think this falls in the category of have your cake and eat it too, is that everything should be effortless. And our own work, I want to share how we're thinking about this. And this is a really, really important direction for us. And there's two main ways to think about it from a chef standpoint. The first is we want it to be effortless, and we want to reduce the operating burden of managing and running automation at scale. The second thing on our mind is, as we bring new practitioners into the fold, we don't want them to have to be experts in Chef, experts in Ruby. We want to make it easier to accomplish tasks that need to be accomplished and easier to come into the fold of Chef. So we're also doing a number of things, and we'll continue to drive in this area. So these are the three things that are informing all of our product work. We'll continue to be great at scale and velocity. Security is a huge emphasis, and then effortless. And you'll just keep hearing us beat on that drum and do a whole bunch of things in the product in that area. And I want to do a quick business update. And the headline is business is good right now. And in fact, it has wildly exceeded my expectations, especially in the world of COVID, when there's so much economic deterioration around the world. And I think for us, a whole number of things have conspired together in a very positive way. First of all, our business model is working, the 100% open source business model. The path we've chosen is performing. You all have been phenomenally supportive of that. Thank you. Our new product investments, I'll touch on that. They're working, and we're seeing that Chef isn't just about Chef Infra anymore. And innovation, the innovation in our products, not just new, but also existing products. We're being thinking about our, where we started in the world of infrastructure in different ways than we have previously. And as I said, it's a time of record innovation for the company. Our community, I touched and shared some of the folks that represent our community. We have a vibrant community that's helping us and helping drive where we want to go. And then customers. And I'll just want to say, we are so fortunate to have customers doing some of the most interesting things in compute with Chef. And that work and sharing what works, what doesn't, what are the obstacles, help inform us and help us build better products. So thank you for that. And then I'll touch on partners in a second. We have probably the strongest partner network that we've ever had in the history of the company. And then also just want to call out a great, great group of employees that are just fantastic at execution and just keep driving the business. And all this is translated into, first of all, a really strong 2019. It was our 10th consecutive record revenue year, so really consistent growth over time for the company. But there was a couple sub-stories in 2019 that I really want to pop. One is we had a explosion and resurgence of our new customer acquisition. And this is the part of the business that really lends most to what will happen in the future. So really pleased with that, and welcome all you new customers to the Chef community. And then our new products are growing very quickly, over 70% year-over-year growth of both Habitat and Inspec. So let's talk about 2020 year to date. And this has been a crazy time to be in business. March was highly impacted by COVID. And then, Q2, which we're sort of in the throes of wrapping up in the next month or so, it's just been a wild ride. And for Chef, I think it all translates to the work that we do, and automation and all things digital are so important today. So we had our best Q1 ever, 100% growth over a year. The company also passed a really important milestone. We've been flirting in and out of being cash flow positive, and we were firmly cash flow positive in the first quarter of this year, in fact, the first half. And just across all Q1 metrics, just very, very strong performance. And all that leads us to have actually a very favorable outlook for 2020. The products are performing well. The company expects to be both cash flow positive and profitable, which is a really, really important milestone for companies like ours. So again, thank you all for your help and your participation. And this isn't just us as a company, this is all of us as a community. Okay, with that, I'm really excited to turn it over to our very own Mindy Beaumonte, who's our virtual person on the street, who's going to interview Corey Johnston with Edgenuity. Has a great, great story to tell. So with that, Mindy, take it away.
Thanks, Barry. This is Mindy Beaumonte, a member of the marketing team here at Chef Software, and I am joined today by Corey Johnston, Manager of Cloud Engineering for Edgenuity. Corey, thanks so much for joining us today.
Thank you for having me.
So my understanding is that Edgenuity is a leading provider of K-12 online learning solutions that partners with schools and districts around the country to provide the tools and support they need to leverage technology to improve student outcomes. Can you share with me what the plan for Edgenuity, what it looked like at the beginning of 2020?
Well, our roadmap for 2020 consisted of continuing our migration to Amazon and getting out of our existing data center, and we were leveraging Chef to do that. We're developing new products constantly, so while we're doing the migration, we were working on proving out those innovative ideas and really preparing for back to school of 2021, actually. So it was an interesting challenge when the pandemic hit, because we had to pivot into supporting a larger customer base, meaning students, parents, and educators. And it went from about 500,000 connections to over 5 million connections that we had to handle in one way or the other. And the challenge quickly arose that we didn't have the capacity on-prem to do so. So we really had to escalate our efforts to migrate the majority of our core LMS application to Amazon.
And what were some of the initiatives that Chef especially helped you with as you made that quick pivot?
Well, one of the biggest ones was convincing our developers that Chef was not only a great product, but it was the product to help us quickly innovate. What I mean by that is that Chef is agnostic to the application stack that you're developing on. So whether it be Java or Windows, both of which are pretty huge platforms in our environment, it allowed us to provide the developers a platform where they could consume the application in its current state, package it, and assist us in quickly deploying it to the cloud. Why is that important to a company like Edgenuity? Well, because of the large influx of students and parents and teachers that we had, we couldn't bring the system down at night like we typically did. We had to do migrations in flight, meaning that while the application was still fully up and running, we packaged and deployed it to the cloud while we continued to service our parents and teachers and educators. And, it was, while challenging, much more efficient. What took usually about 4 days to do, we cut down into 3 hours. So Chef played an important role. On top of that, some of the other products that Chef offers, like Inspect for hardening of our server images, and the compliance monitoring that Automate assists us with, were very invaluable in making sure that both on-prem and in the cloud, we were monitoring things in a consistent way, and our deployments were in lockstep with each other. Another challenge was that we had to deploy to two different parts of the organization, or to two different areas, meaning the data center and the cloud. And because we leveraged Chef, we were able to do both without a lot of heartache and pain. And our focus could be on innovating instead of, man, how are we going to get this application to the various tenants that we had. So that was an important role that Chef has played to date.
Well, we've been very happy to partner and help in this time that none of us could have predicted. That's for sure. As we look forward into the school year, starting in the fall of 2020 and beyond into 2021 and future years, what do you see as the next? What are you doing to prepare, and how is Chef going to help you?
Well, we're going through this evolution for our application to better meet the student experience. One of the things that we've decided to do is go into more of a services-oriented architecture. While that may sound great and exciting, one of the challenges is continuing to supply that experience to our customers while developing this new product. One of the initial pain points was going to be, well, do we have to use another tool or platform in order to accomplish that? And because we've already stood up Chef and have had great success with it, we don't have to do that. We're using Chef to do our services deployments into Kubernetes, or services like Kubernetes, without having to carve out a whole new tool in order to do so. We're also continuing to innovate, and actually are speeding up that innovation, because the developers aren't worried about, man, I have to stop and learn a new tool and have discussions with my team members. It's all the same thing, and it's all the same platform. We're just innovating as fast as we can. So that is what our goal for back to school 2021 will continue to be. We anticipate even more students on the platform, since a lot of the schools decided to end the school year early, since it seems initially that we're going to be starting off with some sort of distance learning involved. We're going to be prepared for that. And we're excited. We're looking forward to getting a little bit more sleep, of course, but we are pretty confident we're going to meet the needs of our customers now and into the future.
Well, we of course wish you all very well and more sleep, and look forward to continuing to partnering with you and helping achieve those goals of greater innovation and being able to support all those schools and school districts around the country. So thank you very much for joining us today. And again, we look forward to continuing to work with you and Edgenuity.
Thank you.
Back to you, Barry.
Corey, Mindy, thank you for that. I love hearing that story. I never grow tired of hearing that. So thank you, and appreciate your support, Corey, you and your team. Okay, I want to finish by talking about Chef's partner programs. So this year we launched our best ever partner program, had very positive feedback on it. And we sit today with over 500 partners worldwide. And as Chef grows, at some point we can't ourselves touch every customer, every prospect out there. And so we have to get help from a very strong partner network. The thing that I look for first and foremost in a great partner is someone that drives great customer outcomes, right? I think that if you drive great customer outcomes, if you're helping customers succeed, if you're helping better engagement they have with their own business, then business flows well for our partners, it flows well from us, but it starts with those customer outcomes. And With that, I'll drive into the 2020 Chef Partner Awards. And I'm going to run through these, but all of these, whether they are our winner or our runner-up, absolutely represented that idea of great focus on their own customer outcomes. So first of all, Partner of the Year, I'm very pleased to announce Indelliant and runner-up Relevance Labs. So thank you both. In the financial services sector, Tech Racer is the winner. Oracy is the runner-up. In our public sector, which I'll just note is one of our fastest growing parts of Chef's business, Imex Group and Carasoft is the runner-up. And in the Rising Star category, I'm very pleased to announce Climb Channel Solutions and eBusiness Design as the runner-up. So thank you all to our 8 winners. Appreciate your help. Look forward to another great year working together. So to summarize, I think 3 main points. First of all, digital is more critical than ever. Second of all, the coded enterprises, those that are high performers, what they're great at is automating and securing change. And I view this as our collective job to help organizations become high performers. And then lastly, thanks to you all, Chef is doing very, very well despite a tough climate out there. So thank you. Feel so fortunate for that. So with that, let me turn it over. I'd like to introduce Corey Scobie, our CTO, who's got a great talk on the work that's going on with products. So Corey, take it away.